Hello friends, welcome to Mysterious Stories. Today, we relate a terrifying tale that began on July 4, 1984, in a charming community known as Northport, America. On this tragic day, local police were called to examine an odd incident in the adjacent woodland. Accompanying them were their trusty police dogs, famed for their great sense of scent and unshakable loyalty. As they reached the wooded area, the dogs began to bark fiercely, suggesting that something was dreadfully wrong. The police could notice a strange odor wafting through the trees, a smell that would eventually lead them to a tragic discovery. The cops were sure that something nefarious had transpired in this quiet community. As they proceeded farther into the woods, the scene that met them was horrifying. The lifeless body of a small boy lay abandoned. The condition of the body was horrific. The bones were partially exposed, and it had definitely been a time since the youngster had departed. All the blood had drained from his body, which appeared to be partly buried in the dirt. Insects had consumed much of the flesh, leaving the face unrecognizable. Nearby, the police recovered some garments, which generated the first important question: who was this unlucky youngster, and what had happened to him? The inquiry began immediately, with officers questioning neighborhood neighbors. Many villagers were brought to the area and shown where the body was discovered, although no one seemed to have any information about the youngster. Even those who might have known anything were afraid to speak up, fearing the implications. Just as it seemed the inquiry would hit a dead end, the police received a call from a girl who claimed to have knowledge about the case. Although she did not divulge her name, she asserted that she knew anything about the deceased. The authorities soon learned that the body belonged to a 17-year-old teenager named Gary Lawless. Gary had been a high school student but had dropped out of school. He had a rough past, often running away from home and plunging into a risky lifestyle filled with drugs and robbery. Now the central question loomed: what had happened to Gary? How did he die, and why was his body located in this forest? To understand this enigma, we must also learn about another boy, Ricky Cusso, who was Gary's friend. Ricky lived in Northport as well. He was the son of a teacher and had 3 sisters, maintaining what seemed to be a regular family life. However, Ricky struggled to connect with his family and had slipped into bad company. He became addicted to drugs and would only return home once or twice a month, spending most of his time on the streets. He would sometimes sleep in forests or campgrounds, other times in garages, and occasionally at the homes of friends. Ricky's addiction grew worse, and it became apparent that he needed money to continue his habit. To sustain his addiction, he started selling narcotics, using the money he made to buy additional substances for himself. As we know, a person involved in a life of crime often finds themselves plunging further down a dark path. One bad decision leads to another, and soon they are locked in a cycle of wrongdoing. This was true for Ricky as well. He would often tell his pals that he saw himself as a devil, professing to adore worshipping the dark side. His mental health worsened so drastically that he even got caught digging a grave in a cemetery. He was brought to a psychiatric facility but was eventually discharged since the doctors found that he was not mad. Ricky's buddies, who took narcotics with him, informed the police that he would regularly walk into the surrounding woodland, where he would scream and talk with the devil. He stated that the devil would arrive in the appearance of a tree and they would chat for hours. On occasion, he would even go to a graveyard, get high, and sleep there, thinking that he could hear the devil's voice. Whether or not the devil genuinely talked to him, Ricky was certainly lost in his addiction. It is alleged that he even created songs about the devil, one of which was titled, "A Child of the Devil." The plot takes a catastrophic turn from here. Gary, the boy whose body was found in the forest, and Ricky had forged a bond via their common difficulties with addiction. They both used narcotics, and this similarity pulled them together. However, Gary was afraid of Ricky. At one time, during a drug-fueled party, Gary took packets of drugs from Ricky's jacket. When Ricky discovered this, he became outraged. Although Gary returned the stolen pills, Ricky began to physically assault him. Out of anxiety, Gary sought to avoid Ricky, but the two were entangled in the throes of addiction and constantly crossed paths. Ricky would abuse and attack Gary, pushing their fight further. But one fateful night, everything changed. On June 19, 1984, Gary was brutally murdered. That night, Ricky and two of his buddies, Jamie and Albert, set up camp in the woods near Northport. Their objective was to consume narcotics in that remote place. During the evening, Ricky spotted Gary walking by and offered him to join them for the night. Gary understood that spending time with Ricky may be perilous, considering their volatile history, but his addiction forced him to accept the invitation. The four of them began doing narcotics in the dark, barren wilderness. They attempted to create a fire to keep themselves warm, but recent rains had saturated the wood, and they were unable to ignite it. As they sat in the darkness, Ricky began to talk to Gary about the devil, asking that Gary profess his love for the devil. Gary firmly refused, forcing Ricky to pressure him further. And dispute swiftly escalated into violence, with Ricky suddenly lunging at Gary with a knife. In a fit of rage, Ricky stabbed Gary around 36 times, continuously shouting the devil's name as he struck. Gary was left dead, his corpse laying in a horrible state. Ricky covered the dead with leaves and branches, thinking he could conceal his crime. Gary's family remained uninformed of his fate because he had not been living at home, thus they did not inquire about him. The police might never have recovered Gary's body, but they immediately caught Ricky and his two buddies. What unfolded next was surprising. Ricky, having killed Gary, began to boast about the murder to his buddies, telling an extraordinarily odd scenario. He stated that he had killed Gary under the devil's order. According to Ricky, the devil had appeared in the form of a crow, giving him the license to murder Gary because the boy had not been obedient. Ricky even led other boys to examine Gary's physique, showing them what he claimed was the outcome of defying the devil. Ricky had lost his hold on reality. Addiction can change a person into a monster, and Ricky had become that monster. On July 4, 1984, the police got reports of something weird happening in the woodland. They arrived with their dogs and discovered Gary's body in a horrific condition. The cops swiftly captured Ricky. Initially, the other drug users who associated with Ricky were unwilling to share information. However, one brave girl eventually called the police, revealing the horrific reality. Ricky had ruthlessly slain his friend Gary in the woods, using the devil as a scapegoat for his horrible acts. He stated that the devil had told him to kill Gary since he had disobeyed. The police also apprehended the two guys who were present during the murder, albeit they eventually took their own lives in jail. This terrible case garnered prominence, since one child had used the justification of the devil to justify killing his classmate. Numerous films were developed on the tragedy, including a TV program named The Devil Worshippers. Several films have also been influenced by this tragic incident, such as Black Circle Boys and Ricky 6. As we complete this terrible tale, it serves as a sobering reminder of the dark pathways that addiction can lead humans down. It reveals how easily someone can become entangled in a web of drugs, violence, and despair. If you found this story scary and want to hear more unsettling true stories, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about this unfortunate case? Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode of Reality Stories.